It was supposed to be a quiet Tuesday. I'd just come back from the vet with my border collie, Daisy, expecting to find my sprawling acreage in its usual state of sleepy calm rolling hills, a weathered barn, and my trio of alpacas grazing lazily under the late spring sun. Instead, I turned down the dusty lane to see a circus of chaos sprawled across my land. 8 delivery vans lined the gravel drive, their engines humming like an impatient swarm. A forklift I'd never laid eyes on before was hoisting crates into my barn. And there, in the middle of it all, stood Melissa, me neighbor from 2 properties, overdecked out in a lime green jumpsuit that looked like it belonged in a sci-fi movie. She was barking orders into a megaphone while live streaming herself on her phone, sealing boxes with neon tape and yelling, "Welcome to Mel's Mega Depot, folks." Shipping dreams straight from the countryside. I slammed on the brakes, my old pickup shuddering to a stop. For a second, I thought I'd taken a wrong turn, like maybe I'd stumbled onto a movie set or a fever dream brought on by the vet's waiting room coffee. But no, there was my rusty windmill creaking in the breeze, the crooked oak I'd climbed as a kid, and the faint whiff of alpaca wool and hay that told me this was undeniably my land. Except now, my alpaca's biscuit, Muffin, and Little Pudding were sporting glittery bandanas emblazoned with Mel's crew in Comic Sans. Melissa had turned my barn into a shipping empire, and I hadn't even been gone 3 hours. I reversed halfway down the drive, squinting through the dust, trying to process what I was seeing. A delivery guy in a sweat-soaked polo darted past with a dolly stacked high with packages. Another was arguing with a third about a double-parked van blocking the gate to my chicken coop. And Melissa? She spotted me, waved like we were long-lost pals at a reunion, and shouted, "Oh, hey, Tom. You're back early. I was in a text you thought you wouldn't mind me borrowing the barn. It's just sitting there, right? And I've got 15,000 followers now. Pretty wild, huh?" Borrowing? Borrowing? My barn wasn't a cup of sugar or a lawnmower. I climbed out of the truck, boots crunching on gravel, feeling like I was walking into a trap. One of the alpaca's biscuit, I think, nosed at a box labeled organic teeth-whitening strips and sneezed, sending a cloud of glitter into the air. A crate marked fragile, premium soy candles teetered precariously on the edge of a hay bale my granddad had stacked decades ago. I took a deep breath, then another, because if I didn't, I was liable to lose it right there in front of God, alpacas, and Melissa's livestream audience. She strutted over, megaphone dangling from one hand, a laminated sheet flapping in the other. "Look, I even got approval, sort of," she said, thrusting the paper at me. "Filed a request with the county zoning board. They didn't say no, so I figure it's a green light." She grinned like she just cracked the code to the universe. I glanced at the permit, a grainy printout of an email from someone named Greg that read, "Sounds like a plan, I guess." I didn't laugh. She blinked. "You're not laughing. Step outside the barn for a sec," I said, voice tight but steady. She twirled dramatically, still clutching her megaphone, and sashayed out like she was accepting an award. I held the door open, waited until she cleared the threshold, then pulled the heavy barn key from my pocket and locked it with a satisfying click. The sound echoed like a gunshot in the sudden silence. Melissa tilted her head. "Wait, did you lock it or unlock it?" "Locked it," I said, crossing my arms. Her jaw dropped. "But my inventory, Tom, my whole business is in there." "Shouldn't have put on my property, then," I replied, turning on my heel. She started sputtering something about supply chain disruptions and entrepreneurial freedom, but I was already climbing back into my truck. As I rolled down the window, I added, "If anyone asks, tell them I've gone camping." Then I peeled out, leaving her in a cloud of dust and disbelief. I drove 4 hours south to Lake Harrow, a spot I hadn't visited since my dad passed. I pitched a tent by the water, cracked open a beer, and let the silence wash over me. No phones, no internet, just the rustle of pine trees and the occasional splash of a bass breaking the surface. For 3 days, I fished, cooked over a fire, and watched the stars wheel overhead, plotting my next move. Back home, I figured Melissa's cardboard kingdom was festering in the heat, and I wasn't wrong. When I finally returned, my voicemail was a war Zone 47 missed calls from Melissa, a dozen emails with subject lines like emergency, barn crisis, and a passive-aggressive note from the HOA taped to my gate demanding I cease obstructing commerce. The best part? A tearful voicemail from Melissa sobbing. The vegan lip balms melted, Tom. Do you know what that means? I didn't, but I could guess it wasn't good for her. The barn was a disaster when I unlocked it. The heat had turned it into a sauna of despair. Boxes sagged, tape peeled, and the alpacas had chewed through a crate of eco-friendly yoga mats, leaving neon green scraps strewn across the floor. Melissa was nowhere in sight, but I knew she'd be back. This wasn't over. This was personal now. She showed up the next morning, sunglasses perched on her head like a crown, flanked by two guys in reflective vests, one holding a clipboard, the other a drone controller. She was live streaming again, pacing in front of the barn doors, ranting, "This is tyranny. I'm a woman in business, targeted for my success." The drone buzzed overhead, capturing her every word. Then she pulled out a spoon of bent, tarnished tablespoon and jabbed it at the lock like she was auditioning for a jailbreak movie. I watched from my kitchen window, coffee in hand, as the spoon snapped and she yelped, clutching her ankle. By midday, the HOA was involved. Their treasurer, Evelyn, called me, voice dripping with exhaustion. "Melissa says you've trapped her inventory in unsafe conditions. She's filed a complaint." I told Evelyn I had footage hours of it from the security cameras I'd installed last year after a fox kept raiding the coop. "I'll show the board everything," I said. Melissa breaking in, setting up shop, the works. Evelyn sighed. "We'll review it." That afternoon, Melissa escalated. She returned with a posse, 4 women in matching tie-dye shirts wielding signs that read, "Free the freight," and "Commerce isn't crime." They chanted outside the barn, a jumbled mix of self-help buzzwords and postal service gripes. Inside, the heat was melting her stock into a gooey mess, essential oils mingled with alpaca droppings, and pudding had somehow gotten into a box of herbal beard tonics, sporting a sticky, sage-scented mane. I sat on my porch, sipping iced tea, watching the absurdity unfold like a reality show I hadn't signed up for. Deputy Ramirez rolled up around dusk, looking like he'd rather be fishing than dealing with this. "Got a call about a possible hostage situation," he said, eyeing Melissa's protest crew. "Unless the alpacas are holding someone, I think we're good," I replied. Melissa stormed over, waving her laminated email. "He's detaining my livelihood. That barn's a commercial hub now." Ramirez skimmed the paper, unimpressed. "This isn't a permit. It's an email from a guy named Greg who sounds like he doesn't care." He poked his head in the barn, wrinkling his nose at the stench. "Yeah, this ain't legal. And some of those boxes look sketchy. Import restrictions apply in 4 languages. Melissa's posse dwindled after that. One protester left for a pottery class. The others faded away, muttering about dinner plans. Her livestream comments turned brutal. "Rent a warehouse, lady," and "This is Barnanza gone wrong." I could have gloated, but I didn't. I just locked the barn again and waited. Melissa wasn't done. She was plotting. The HOA called an emergency meeting a week later. I showed up, armed security footage on a USB, my property deed, zoning maps, even a letter from the feed store clerk who'd sold Melissa a cheap padlock in a panic. Melissa sat at the table's head, a tower of folders beside her, wearing a blazer that screamed, "I mean business." She launched into a speech about innovation and rural revitalization, tears streaming as she claimed I'd crushed her dreams. The board, Evelyn, President Carl, and a few others shifted uncomfortably. Then I played the footage. Melissa's face froze as her own voice blared, "This barn's mine now." The room went silent, save for Carl unwrapping a cough drop. I handed out my evidence stack. Carl read Melissa's permit, sighed, and asked, "Who's Greg?" She stammered, "He's a planning advisor." Evelyn snorted. "He manages the print shop downtown." Sheriff Hollis, who'd slipped in mid-meeting, stepped forward. "Funny thing, feds called me yesterday. Some of that barn junk matches a fraud case unlicensed tech imports. They're real curious who's behind it." Melissa paled, babbling about drop-shipping mix-ups. The board voted 8-0 to suspend her HOA rights. She stormed out, vowing lawsuits and fan revenge. The next day, my mailbox was dripping with smashed kale, Smoothies Melissa's parting shot. I laughed, then fortified the barn. New locks, more cameras, motion sprinklers, and a sign. Trespassers will be soaked and shamed. She sued me a week later. Emotional distress, business sabotage, the works. Her lawyer, Coach Darren, looked like a gym bro playing dress-up. My cousin Lisa, a real attorney, shredded the case. In court, Judge Marlowe watched my footage, heard Melissa's theatrics, and dismissed it with a gavel slam. "You broke the law, ma'am," she said. Melissa's exit scream went viral, remixed into a club hit, Barn Lock Blues. Soon, my barn became a local legend. Tourists flocked for crime barn selfies. I sold alpaca wool scarves and barn-free honey, letting Biscuit pose with a Melissa cutout. A food truck slung Mel's meltdown ribs. Then a glittery note arrived. "This isn't over. Watch your back." I burned it, grinning. "Let her come. The barn's locked, the cameras are live, and I've got a sold-out tour next weekend." Not today, Melissa. Not today. If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this VY Deo with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next VY Deo.